pleased to present The Stone Zone with your host, Roger Stone. Roger served as a senior campaign aide to 3 Republican presidents, is a New York Times best-selling author, and a longtime friend of President Donald Trump. As an outspoken libertarian, Stone has appeared on thousands of broadcasts, spoken at countless venues, and lectured before Oxford Union Society and the Cambridge Union Society. Due to his 4+ decades in the political and cultural arena, Roger has become a pop culture icon. And now, here is your host, Roger Stone.
I'm Tina Forte. I'm a wife, mother, grandmother, and small business owner. I'm running for Congress to challenge the establishment and fight for you. We have all witnessed the liberal elites and their hypocrisy.
We're going to Met Gala.
They locked us in our homes, gave us curfews.
And Mayor de Blasio tweeting that what happened here was unacceptable, this will not be tolerated, and that he has instructed the NYPD to proceed immediately to summons or even arrest those who gather in large groups.
While they roam free and went on vacations.
Nancy Pelosi is under fire today after surveillance video shows her at a hair salon.
They ordered us to go without haircuts as they went to salons. They demanded we avoid crowds, wear masks while they partied in crowds maskless.
Squad member Jamal Bowman and New York City Mayor Eric Adams both caught maskless after telling everybody to follow the rules and doubling down on mask mandates for schools.
They even forced our children to wear masks in school all day.
Stacey Abrams causing a huge uproar over this photo in a room full of young masked children.
While they posed and grinned right next to them because the rules don't apply to them.
What we're doing to kids is unnecessary and horrible.
They mandated vaccines, telling us to trust the science, but ignored and lied about science of natural immunity.
It violates bodily autonomy when we allow corporations or governments to tell us what is best for our health. That is a scary place to be.
They scolded us not to celebrate Christmas or Thanksgiving with our families, all while they made trips to see their own families. They closed small businesses but allowed major corporations to stay open. They told us who was essential and who was not. They ruined our economy, crushed the American dream for so many, and took our freedoms.
And yes, it involves tough restrictions.
But they didn't care because the rules never applied to them. I've been a voice in New York for those who could not speak out. I've taken on de Blasio, Cuomo, and Hochul. Now I'm taking on AOC, right where I was born and raised, in the Bronx. I'll never be silenced. I'll call out these hypocritical politicians, and I'll never stop fighting for freedom. Join me in this fight at Tina40forcongress.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have entered the Stone Zone. And that incredible, audacious New Yorker was Tina Forte. Tina joins us here on the Stone Zone and proving that we are a grassroots movement. As you can see, I'm doing this from the road. But you have joined Lindell TV right here at frankspeech.com, one of the most dynamic platforms around. And now we bring you that incredible, outspoken, brave, courageous New Yorker. Tina Forte joins us from Bronx, New York. Tina, welcome to the Stone Zone.
Hi, Roger. How are you?
I love your accent. I just love it. You know,
and I love you in the car.
Thank you.
That's where I raised from, the car. You should know it.
I had to take Mrs. Stone to the doctor. We got stuck in traffic, and I always post for Lindell TV. And I love this great new platform, the Stone Zone, right here at frankspeech.com. You are one brave lady has taken on AOC in the overwhelmingly Democratic Bronx. Well, it's a David and Goliath story. So my hat's off to you, and I want to talk to you about your race, your campaign, and your plans. Let's start with the most obvious question. Why are you taking on this political monolith?
Because enough is enough. It's time for not only AOC to be voted out, but it's time for New Yorkers to take back our state. Because I'm not only fighting AOC, I'm fighting the establishment right here in New York. Republicans and Democrats alike on both sides.
Here's the well, this is an uphill battle. What are the registration numbers in the district that you're looking at?
Well, right now, the case of the redistricting started over. It's a redo, it's a do-over. So we did all that petitioning, went to court. I was taken to court. I was challenged. I had to challenge back because, the establishment, they don't want me because I don't kiss the ring. So right now, the voter registration in New York is low. There's only 30,000, maybe a little bit more registered Republicans. That's a problem. But you would be very surprised at the people that are Republicans, but they don't have the R next to their name. They have working families, they have independent, they have other things next to their name besides an R, and they need the R, or they will not have a voice in the primary. But no one tells them that because they only want the establishment who they endorse to be in a seat. They don't want a primary in New York. They don't want it. And that's the problem.
Yeah, for those of you who are unaware, the primary process, the ballot access process in New York State is extraordinarily difficult. You see, the laws were written by Republicans and Democrats working together to make sure that candidates like Tina Forte can't get on the ballot. You see, the Bronx Republicans are planning to lose. They want to lose. They are willing to accept the crumbs from the Democratic machine in return for making sure that we nominate rum-dum candidates who just roll over at election time. So it's an extraordinarily arcane process, meaning that if I'm registered to vote as Roger Jason Stone, but I sign the petition Roger Stone or Roger J. Stone or Roger Stone Jr., well, my signature can be disallowed. There are actually attorneys, most of them in the Democratic Party, whose only expertise is knocking legitimate candidates off the ballot by challenging their petitions. Or let's say your petitions were numbered incorrectly. You had 100 pages and you missed numbering by one. Well, then every signature on that page would be knocked out. Or the signatures have to be witnessed by someone who is a registered voter or is a justice of the peace. Well, if any of those things are invalid, every single signature on that page is invalidated. Or let's say that in the printing of your petition, there's a tiny typographical error. Well, the party bosses will swoop right in and try to invalidate your petition. I ran into the petitioning crew working for Tina Forte only weeks ago, understanding what a daunting task this is, and I wish them luck. But I happen to know that your petitions are actually bulletproof. The people who are helping you know what they're doing. And I'm anxious to see one of the most epic struggles in the political contest this year, a showdown with AOC. Now, Tina, as you campaign, and I know you're out there pressing the flesh, meeting people, what do people tell you the number one issue facing the country is today?
Crime and inflation. It was crime, and now it's switching over, of course, to inflation. So it's a combination of both. In New York, it's a lot of crime, but the gas prices and all the inflation and the empty shelves are not helping at all. There's so much going on, Roger. It's so much. It's so overwhelming to people that they don't understand it. They can't get a grip on it. And I tell them you have to vote. You have to get out and you have to vote. You have to make sure your voice is heard in a primary, or someone like me will not get voted in because the establishment is a machine and they work against you. They work against you. They don't want a candidate like me in. They want their candidates in that they pick that will say, yes, yes, promise we'll listen to you. We'll do whatever you say. I'm not that person. I will fight for the people.
Now, you live, of course, in the all-expensive New York media market. Network television, even cable television, is more expensive in New York City and in the New York City suburbs than any place in the country. And therefore, you have to rely on digital advertising, mail, although if you're a conservative, and you blast email out to the voter list, you can bet that Google will make sure that the vast majority of your emails will end up in the spam filter of most of the voters. Yeah. They did this to Donald Trump in 2016 and in 2020. Radio can be quite effective, but let's think about it. If you bought radio for your district, you'd be talking to people all over New York City, parts of Connecticut, Staten Island, parts of Long Island. I mean, it is one of the most inefficient markets in the country when it comes to running a campaign. It's also one of the most expensive markets in the country when it comes to running a campaign. So I guess my first question is, how is fundraising going? How much do you think you need to raise? Because AOC will raise, as we know, millions from liberal special interests. And lastly, how can people help you? So let's take it in that order. How much do you think you have to raise? How's it going? And how can people help?
Well, you do have to raise a lot against AOC because she does have a very high war chest. So you do need the funds. Me, I'm taking a different route because, as you know, I am a regular person and not many people will have me on, or I'm shadow banned. So I take it directly to the street. Me, my approach is I want to get out there. I want to drive around. I want to maybe get a billboard. I want to meet different people, do my flag drops. I have a nice, beautiful flag that says Tina Forte for Congress. So I'm bringing my fight directly to the people, to the voters, because I am being shadow banned and I am being stopped from being on cable networks. I really am. I'm being stopped for certain reasons. I will not go on with that right now, but it is unfair the way it's happening. You can help me with TinaForteForCongress.com. You can make a donation. You can volunteer to help me to get my word across. I do have people walking all over, ringing bells. I go to the street fairs. I go everywhere. I'm always in the district. I'm always walking around. I'm a business owner. I know a lot of people in the district, and that's really where I need the most help, is I need to wake people up. People need to understand they cannot sit home for this. They need an R next to their name. They need to get their voices heard, and they need to not be afraid. Do not be afraid of the establishment on either side. Speak up. We, the people, need to take our country back, our state back, our seats back.
You know, one of the things I like most about you, Tina, is you took on Cuomo. Then you took on de Blasio. Now you're taking on Hochul. Now, most people don't know yet who Hochul is. Hochul was the lieutenant governor under Andrew Cuomo. And then when he had to resign in disgrace, she rose to the governorship. The signature of her administration seems to be masks. She still wants us to wear masks. The entire COVID-19 vaccination hoax, in which they tried to tell us that COVID-19 vaccinations were both safe and effective, is still very much an issue. Now, here in Florida, it's not an issue, thanks to the leadership of our governor, Ron DeSantis. But as far as I know, New York City police officers, for example, New York City firefighters are still being required to wear masks. Now, here's the real irony. If you're a ballet dancer, if you're a professional athlete, if you're an entertainer, oh, you don't have to wear a mask. But if you're protecting the public, if you're serving the public, you're still burdened with a mask. What's your assessment of the mask mania in New York right now, Tina?
Mask mania in New York is it's shut up and obey. They just want control. It's a power grab, and it needs to stop. People need to stop listening. They need to stop wearing the mask. If you choose to wear it, that's fine. If that's your choice. But if you're wearing it because you're afraid, don't be afraid. I'm not afraid. I walk into places without a mask on for this whole time. And if people confront me, they confront me. I have a nice debate with them, and I continue on with my day. But the power grabs need to stop. That's one big power grab. They still want toddlers in New York City to wear a mask in school. 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. I just had a rally a few weeks ago when I called out Hochul in the state. I had a 10-region rally with the mama bears that one of my girlfriends helps me with. We went out in New York State and we rallied. And we called out Hochul and we called out the school districts. We put them on the spot. She came with a list and we called out every school district. Well, guess what? Portchester got sold out for 20 million. Your kids got sold out for 4 million. We went down the list. Now it's time for New York City to wake up, step up, fight for your kids. These are our kids. I have grandchildren. This is one of the reasons why I jumped into this. I have grandchildren. My grandchildren are going to have children. I want America back.
Very, very well said, Tina. I want to tell our listeners that in the second half of the program, we're going to go to a feature called Ask Roger, in which I'm going to be taking your phone calls. That number, if you want to get ready, is 901-316-8404. That's 901-316-8404. Now we're going to go back to the dynamic Tina Forte, who so far has kept her absolute promise that she would drop no F-bombs today, because she is one outspoken lady, and you always know exactly where she stands. And I think people need to understand that there are two phases of this. In other words, first, Tina has to win the Republican nomination in the primary, running against a rhino. The Republican organizations in New York are dedicated to defeat. They don't want to be competitive. Right now, there's an effort to remove Andrew Giuliani, the son of one of the New York's greatest mayors, perhaps the greatest mayor in New York City history, Rudy Giuliani, from the ballot in his race for governor. That's because Andrew Giuliani is not controllable like Tina. He's his own person. He won't be bought. He won't be bossed. He won't be dictated to. So right now, the party bosses who have anointed another candidate are seeking to challenge his petitions to avoid a Republican primary. So what you see Tina undergoing in her district is a microcosm of what's happening statewide. I hope to have Andrew Giuliani on the show next week to make his own case. Andrew Giuliani, to me, is an extraordinarily impressive young man, articulate with a great command of the issues, a chip off the old block, as it were. But people need to understand the two phases here. So, Tina, when is the Republican primary? Because then, after you're the nominee, I love the idea of Tina Forte and AOC head-to-head.
Yeah.
And here's my question. When's the primary? And do you think you can get her into a debate? Will she debate you?
I don't think she'll debate me. I mean, I wish she would. Like I says, I'll do it on pay-per-view and I will take all the donations and I will send them to veterans because that's my passion. I love my veterans. But as for the primary, they were trying to get me out the last time. Just yesterday, when the court case came down, I was in court fighting my petitions. So they're still trying to get me out. So I'm sure they're not happy about the do-over, but I'm not going away. I'll meet you in the mud because I'm coming back at you and I'm not backing down.
I can't think of anything more exciting than a Tina Forte AOC head-to-head contest. This would be a debate that would set all records. Do you ever notice how the most demented leftists all have that crazy look in the eyes? Adam Schiff, AOC, others. There's something mentally unbalanced about these people. Well, I know Tina Forte. I've known her for a while. We've had a few beers together. She's the real deal. I mean, in other words, she's not running because she wants to be a congresswoman or she wants to be important or she wants a big fancy office or she wants people in New York to kiss her ass. She's running because she's fed up. And I can tell you, I know this district. There are many, many, many people who can't vote in the Republican primary because they're not registered Republicans. And the way state law works, it's too late for them to register to vote in the primary. But they fed up with the Democrats. They're working class people who once considered themselves Democrats, but they're ready to go in another direction. This is why I think Tina Forte is an extraordinarily strong crossover candidate, someone who can do far better than the Republican registration numbers would indicate in her district. So, Tina, one more time, tell folks where they can send you a nice, hefty contribution, because this I can tell you. The big PACs are not supporting Tina Forte. The big pharmaceutical companies are not supporting Tina Forte. The big oil companies are not supporting Tina Forte. The big insurance companies are not supporting Tina Forte. The special interest PACs want nothing to do with a candidate this independent. She has to rely on individual contributions from everyday people who have just had enough. So one more time, Tina, tell us how. It's on the screen, but I want you to say it because I want folks to write it down right now. And we're going to give you a second to get a piece of paper, because when you finish watching the Stone Zone, I want you to go right to your handheld or to your computer and send a contribution. Tina, where can people help you? Say it again.
Tina40forcongress.com. And I would appreciate all the help you can send me, because you are right about that, Roger. I don't kiss rings, so no one is going to support me. And I don't want the support of the special interests. I'm a voice for the people.
Well, so I'm going to spell that for folks. You can see it on the screen, though. It's Tina. It's Forte. So when she says 40, that's because she's from New York. That's Tina Forte, Forte, for Congress. Please, and it's the word for, please send your contribution, because this great patriot is battling not just for herself, but for us, for the American people, for the people of New York. Tina, thank you for joining us here on the Stone Zone. God bless you and Godspeed.
Thank you for having me. I love you, Roger.
Thank you very much. Folks, as I've said before, the Stone Zone, this great program, is brought to you with the enormous assistance of Logan Howes and with the tutelage of Brandon Howes, and made available at Lindell TV by going to frankspeech.com.